Sarah Mitchell stood outside the elegant riverside restaurant, her hands trembling slightly as she smoothed down her cream-colored dress. At 52, she'd learned that life rarely went according to plan, but tonight felt particularly daunting. Inside, her younger sister's engagement party was in full swing, and Sarah knew the questions would come. They always did. "Still single, Sarah? Haven't found anyone special yet?" The well-meaning curiosity that somehow made her feel smaller each time. She took a deep breath, watching the city lights dance on the water, when a gentle voice beside her said, "Excuse me, are you all right?" Sarah turned to find a distinguished man in his mid-50s, dark hair touched with silver at the temples, wearing an impeccably tailored gray suit. His blue eyes held genuine concern, not pity. Something about his kind expression made her honest. "I'm about to face a room full of family who think my life is incomplete because I'm not married," she said, surprised at her own candor. Then, before she could stop herself, she added with a nervous laugh, "I don't suppose you'd consider pretending to be my date for an hour? I know that sounds absolutely ridiculous." The man smiled warmly. "Actually, I'm James Harrison. I was supposed to meet a business associate here, but he just canceled. And honestly, spending an evening helping someone feel less alone sounds much more worthwhile than discussing profit margins." He offered his arm. "Shall we?" As they entered the restaurant, Sarah felt the weight lift from her shoulders. James moved through the room with quiet confidence, his hand resting gently at the small of her back. He had the bearing of someone successful, she noticed, the understated watch on his wrist, the way the staff seemed to recognize him with respectful nods. "Sarah!" Her sister Emma rushed over, eyes widening at James. "You didn't mention you were bringing someone." "This is James," Sarah said, feeling a blush rise to her cheeks. "James, my sister Emma, the bride-to-be." Throughout the evening, James was remarkable. He listened intently to her uncle's long stories about fishing, complimented her mother's dress with genuine warmth, and when Sarah's aunt asked what he did for a living, he simply said, "I run a small company downtown," with the kind of humble understatement that made Sarah curious. During dinner, he leaned close and whispered, "You have a wonderful family. They clearly love you very much." "They do," Sarah admitted softly. "Sometimes love comes with a lot of expectations, though. The people who truly love us want us to be happy not to fit into boxes," James said, his eyes crinkling at the corners. "I learned that lesson late in life myself. I spent 20 years building a business, thinking success meant working 80-hour weeks. My daughter was in college before I realized I'd missed watching her grow up." There was such quiet regret in his voice that Sarah reached for his hand without thinking. "But you realized it. That counts for something." "It does," he said, squeezing her hand gently. "She and I are close now. Better late than never, my wise daughter tells me." As the evening wore on, Sarah found herself forgetting this was supposed to be pretend. James asked about her work as a librarian, genuinely interested in the literacy programs she ran for adults learning to read. He shared stories about his daughter, the single father years when he'd struggled to braid hair and pack lunches while running board meetings. "You know what I've learned?" he said, as they stood on the restaurant's terrace, the spring breeze carrying the scent of flowering trees. "The years I thought I was falling behind, when other executives were married with perfect families and I was raising my daughter alone, eating cereal for dinner, those were actually the years I was becoming who I needed to be. The years that taught me what really matters." Sarah felt tears prick her eyes. "I needed to hear that tonight. Thank you." "Sarah," he said gently, "I should tell you something. That small company I mentioned? It's actually not so small. I'm the CEO of Harrison Technologies. I have more money than I'll ever need, a penthouse apartment, all the things people think equal success." He paused, his expression earnest. "But this evening, just being here, talking with you, Your family? It's been the most genuine thing I've done in months. You weren't looking for someone wealthy or important. You just needed a friend. That's rare. Sarah studied his face, seeing not a powerful CEO but a kind man who'd chosen to help a stranger. You could have said no, she said softly. Why didn't you? Because a year ago my daughter got married and I stood at her wedding alone. And someone, a complete stranger actually, saw me looking lost and invited me to sit with their family during the reception. That small kindness meant more than they knew. He smiled. I figured it was my turn to pass it along. They stood together, in comfortable silence, watching the river flow past, carrying with it all the days that had come before and all the possibilities yet to come. James, Sarah said finally, would you like to have coffee sometime? Not as my pretend date, but as my real friend? His face lit up with genuine joy. I would like that very much, Sarah. Very much indeed. As they exchanged phone numbers, Sarah's sister appeared at the terrace door, her eyes shining with happiness. Sarah, we're about to cut the cake. Will you and James join us? Walking back inside together, Sarah realized something had shifted. She wasn't incomplete. She never had been. She was simply living her own story at her own pace, and maybe, just maybe, this unexpected evening was the start of a beautiful new chapter written not from loneliness, but from authentic connection. Sometimes the kindest thing we can do is simply show up for each other, Sarah thought, glancing at James as he held the door for her with that gentle smile. And sometimes, when we stop pretending to be what we think we should be, we finally become exactly who we're meant to be.